I'll be with you in a second. I had slightly overfilled this mug, so I had to try and deal with that before I could really start interacting with the chat. Thanks, Alyssa. Wow. Riverdale nonsense. That takes me back a bit. Oh. So, this is not going to be a politics-free stream, which my last few have been. And the main thing that I'm going to request of people is that you be polite and you don't start fighting in the chat, not with each other and not with me. I am probably going to be talking a fair bit. While I will be looking at the chat, I would say that the super chats are going to be more important if you want to be certain that I respond to your stuff, because when I start talking about any given aspect of this, I'm going to talk for a bit, and I'm not always going to pause to check the chat. Oh, that system's fun. I'm still getting used to it, Moonlight. So like I'm making the mental adjustments to how it works, but I'm enjoying it so far, for sure. No, I have not, Harriet. So, let's establish a base reality, which is that I am accepting the results of the election, both electorally and the popular vote. Now, when I say accept, I don't mean I am resigned to that reality, but I have seen enough people who I know or folks in leftist spaces being resistant to the idea that this is our reality now. I just want to say up front, I am not dealing with that. All right, let me, hold on. All right, we'll put it up there. I am not going to be indulging any conspiratorial notions that I feel are unreasonable, and I am accepting the situation as it stands. There is some things I want to say at the front to sort of get us on the same page so we can move forward from there. Bumble Homestead, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. I wish it was not the world my kiddo and their generation have to grow up in. Guess we only get to count on the village we build. As a parent, I absolutely feel you on that. So, I want to address the fact that Trump won the popular vote, because that is a particular fixation, I think, especially on the left. And I mean the punditry, I mean my friends, I mean just in general. Because the Republicans haven't won the popular vote since Bush in 2004. And that seems to be the thing that the left was least prepared to cope with. So here's the thing that I noted early on, and I see brought up. I don't think I've seen anybody bring it up, actually. But for me, I think is important to keep in mind, not because it fixes anything. Like, I'm going to be finding silver linings throughout this stream. None of it repairs the core things. The core things are really bad, and they will be. And I am not here to tell you it won't be that bad. No, it's going to be that bad. But I also do not want to spiral into a doom mentality, and I want to try and help other people who might be doing that. And the fact that that Trump won the popular vote, I've seen triggered doom spirals for people. So here is the thing that I have seen that nobody is talking about. He didn't increase how many votes he got. In 2020, Trump, in the popular vote, got 74 million votes. This year, in the popular vote, Trump got 74 million votes. He is not more popular than he was before. And I really feel like this is important because I have seen people get into this mentality, especially if they're from marginalized communities, that they're thinking, more of the country has turned against me. My neighbors are turning against me. More people hate me. That is not accurate. Unfortunately, the reality is that politically, yes, more things are going to be turned against many marginalized groups. I am not denying that political reality. However, the actual number of people who support Trump hasn't changed. The people who voted for him last time voted for him again. And there is so much focus that I have seen from some people. Okay, so it's up to 75 million. That is within margin of error, Michael. So many people are fixated on, like, what was Trump's appeal to these groups? He didn't have it. He didn't have it. He increased his percentage within various demographics, not by increasing the number of people who actually voted for him, but because fewer people turned out for Harris than turned out for Biden. And that's the other thing that I want to touch on. And yes, it is absolutely okay, Meg. This is something that I need to kind of clear out of my system so that I don't have to talk about it again elsewhere or at other times. So I love you, Meg, and that it's totally fine. And anyone else who needs to dip out, go ahead and do that. But the issue is not that Trump is bigger. He didn't win. Harris lost. There is a difference. And so that comes to the other thing, which is already devolved into what I absolutely knew it would devolve into, which is all of the finger pointing going on, trying to figure out who to blame for the fact that Harris got fewer votes than Biden. And the short answer to that is there is no single thing to blame. There are a confluence of factors that are difficult at the best of times. And at this moment in time, you cannot reasonably parse in what percentage the various factors are contributing. But contributing factors would include people who aren't going to vote Republican, but also felt unserved either by Biden during his campaign, and then she failed to distance herself, or that Harris did not appeal to. Now, another thing to keep in mind about how big that group likely is, even if you add together every single third-party vote, even if you add all those up and gave those to Harris, she still would have lost the popular vote. So I am disinclined to think that that group alone tanked it, but it is in the mix. The thing that is not being talked about nearly as much as it desperately needs to be is disenfranchisement of voters. And I'm not talking about not appealing to voters. I'm talking about the fact that voter rolls were purged in multiple places. Many people were intimidated or barred from voting. And that wasn't getting proper focus as it was happening. And it's not getting proper focus now. And that's very frustrating. So there is voter suppression issues. There are disenfranchised, there are, that's not the word I want. Dispirited, I guess, voters. And the simple fact is that I like the movie Ms. Wicked Wolf. You can stop asking. The simple fact is that the Democrats have not had a good sales pitch for a long time. This is a fundamental problem of our political reality, which is that the pitch from Republicans is, we will make it better. And they build that, by and large, on lies. But the thing is, a lie is simple. A lie is clean, straightforward, and appealing. The truth is complicated. The truth is hard to sell. But more to the point, the Democrats haven't really been running on, we will make things better. They have been running on, we're better than the other guys. They've been running on, we won't make things worse. They've been running on the status quo. And the reality is that the status quo is a mess. It is a disaster already. And so when you run on a basis of things won't get worse, but they'll stay where they are, it's not shocking to me that that doesn't energize people. Why would it? Trump and the right, for whatever else you might think of them, they sell a pretty lie. Oh, I mean, it's not pretty to everybody. To many of us, it is incredibly ugly. But for the people that it appeals to, they are very pretty lies. Lies are easy to sell. So I think that the infighting that has already started with the progressive wing of the left arguing that the campaign was too centrist, which it was. Like, I'm not even going to talk in terms of the outcomes of the election, just politically. Politically, it was far too centrist, as most Democratic campaigns have been. And then the mainstream Democrats arguing that they ran a campaign that was too woke, which is offensive to my very sensibilities, because the number of Democrats running on the basis of, hey, I own a gun, hey, I don't think boys should play in girls' sports, hey, I don't support sex changes, and they're claiming that they were too woke for that. Oh, great. Wonderful. Oh. And that's fine, Jen. That is fine. I'm going to shift topic ever so slightly because I said I wanted to try and get to some silver linings. I don't know what it is you're trying to say with that comment, Rose, but be careful. I'm going to have very low tolerance for nonsense today. And the mods have ample authority to swing the ban hammer, especially tonight. But I'm going to remind folks that there is simply, flat out, no single one thing that has caused this problem. It is a confluence of events. So anyone pointing at one thing and saying it's because of this is wrong. They may be pointing to something that's a factor, but it's not the whole thing. It can't be. Theres, I greatly, greatly appreciate that. You're a wonderful person, and I adore you, and I really appreciate that. UK has a Democrat-like party in power now with Labour. Yep, that offered nothing other than we aren't Tories. I fear they won't change enough, so apathy sets in and a Trump type rises. They have contempt for many left-wing ideas economically and socially. Yeah, there is a lot of parallels, at least from my understanding of the Labour Party. I think the UK has a slightly better shot at getting out of it because I think the way the system works there is a better chance for a third party to gain purchase than there is in the US. In the US, it wouldn't be impossible, but look, we need a third party, a viable third party in the US, but we won't have one for a very long time because they all run a presidential candidate and they ignore local politics, which is where you have to start to actually build a party. So they're all a mess. Anyways, I said I was going to have a silver lining. So again, understand, understand this is a silver lining to a very, very dark cloud. I don't think Trump is going to actually be as helpful to the Project 2025 people as they want him to be. And I know Project 2025 is terrifying. I'm aware of that. However, there's a fundamental truth about Trump that is part of what stalled a lot of what happened the last time he was president. Now, there were other things that stalled him too, some of which won't be the case here, but Trump wants to believe he is liked. Now, not by everybody. There's whole swaths of humanity that he does not care what they think of him, myself included, I am sure. But he cares that some people think he's great. And if the people who have been thinking he's great turn on him, he cares about that. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and then I'll extrapolate out from there. Do you remember when he held a rally encouraging people to get the vaccine and they booed him? And he never brought up vaccines again. Think about him turning on Anthony Fauci. That was not a politically motivated move. That was a popularity move. He turned on Anthony Fauci because Anthony Fauci was the guy telling Americans, wear a mask, stay home, stay 6 feet apart. And Americans didn't want to do it. And they wanted someone to be mad at, so they got mad at Fauci. Trump went after Fauci because people already, or the kinds of people whose opinion he cares about, already don't like him. So saying, I hate Fauci, got him a pop. It got him that praise that he loves. I think if Anthony Fauci had been more highly praised, I think Trump probably would never have gone that way. Now, the reason I bring this up is because the stuff that we know the far right wants to do, basically Project 2025, that stuff is, some of it he will do just because it will consolidate power for him, and he'll do that in a heartbeat. There's a lot of stuff in there that even the right, the right that isn't the far right, there's stuff in there that even the right doesn't want. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I think when voters, the kinds of people who go to his rallies, when they realize what the actual effects of that will hate. And I think as a result, that as time goes on and they try and push him to do more of that stuff, he's going to start resisting, not on the basis of it's wrong, but on the basis of, well, people aren't going to like me at my rallies. I think that after the first year, he is liable to start becoming an obstruction at least as much as he is a help to the agenda. Because Trump does not have a political agenda. Trump's political agenda is enrich Trump. That is his agenda. That is what has always been his agenda. He has no political position other than that, except what gets a pop at the rallies. He said repeatedly, I said this at a rally and everybody cheered, so I said it more. He's admitted to this. He doesn't care about the policies, left or right. He doesn't care about the core ideas in something like Project 2025. He does not care at all what they're trying to accomplish beyond the extent that it benefits him. So the instant he thinks it doesn't benefit him, I think he's going to actually put up a little bit of a wall against it. Again, not because he's good or he recognizes it as bad. Dernsey, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so apologies. What happens if JD takes power? Either Trump dies or the 25th Amendment. So, JD Vance taking power. All right. So, well, let's back there because there's two different things to talk about with this. One of which has a silver lining, one of which does not. The thing that doesn't have a silver lining is JD Vance would streamline the process of implementing what the people behind Project 2025 would want to do. He would be more helpful to them than I believe Trump will end up being. So, in that sense, it would be bad. On the other hand, I have said for some time now that once Trump is no longer in politics, however it is that happens, whether he passes away or he actually honors the 2-term limit or what have you, once he is no longer in politics, I don't think there's going to be someone to cleanly take up his mantle. Because whatever else you think about him, the man has a unique and twisted charisma to him. He can command attention, audience, and loyalty in a way that I don't think there is anyone else to fill that vacuum. I don't think the people who actually pushed Trump into office, and I mean votes-wise, not financial support-wise, but votes-wise, I don't think the people who actually pushed Trump into office either time, I don't think they actually like JD Vance. For the same reason, they didn't like Ron DeSantis. Because the thing is, Trump, no matter what, he is authentic. I mean, he's a liar. I'm not saying he's truthful, but he is authentically exactly what he appears to be. The far right that he has successfully harnessed, whatever else you think about them, they do have a certain nose for BS. And I think it's why a big chunk of them rejected DeSantis, rejected JD Vance, have pushed back even on people like Marjorie Taylor Greene because they smell opportunists, whereas they believe Trump is flat out one of them. And I don't think there's anyone who will be able to wield that voting block the way that he has. Because you look at any of the political people to try and take up the mantle, none of them have that kind of appeal. Who else is there? His family? Don Jr. can barely string a sentence together, and Eric is freaking human wallpaper. Ivanka seems to want to wash her hands of politics as much as she can possibly get away with. I think that when he is gone, however that happens, there will be a power vacuum because there will not be an agreed upon successor. I think that there will be splintering as the loyalists to Trump are unable to agree on who takes his place. I think there will be a political fracturing, which is good. It is the downside of cult of person. I mean, there's many downsides to cult of personality, but it is it's the way that you can't future-proof a cult of personality, because once the personality dies, that's it. That's pretty much always it. Whatever remains either falls apart completely or shrinks dramatically because it was centered around that one person. Got a couple new super chats in. Trump is a cult of personality. Let's just admit. Oh yeah, no, he absolutely is, no doubt. And also, that was from Coyote Azul, Andrew Connor. Thank you for the super chat. And Volk Smash. Thank you for the super chat there as well. It probably isn't a lot, but it's converting 20 from New Zealand to USD. Just want to say to everyone, especially you, Vera, keeping you no matter what the bastards say. Oh, I intend to. I intend to. And also, something that is also worth remembering, there were multiple states that had ballot measures for progressive policies where those measures passed, even in states where Trump won. There were multiple states, I think it was Arizona was one of them, that passed abortion protections, even though the state went to Trump. There are things like that in multiple states, which shows that progressive policies are not unpopular. The Democrats as a party are unpopular. So I think a lot of the work that is going to need to be done in the next few years, or where work can be done, is to get back to our roots, focus locally, focus on if you live in this country, focus on your municipal, your county politics, your state politics. The national politics, at least for the next 2 years until we get to the midterms, are going to be a disaster. The most impact you can do is going to be at the local level. And that has always been true, but it's going to be doubly true right now. Louise, thank you very much. This was the first presidential election I could vote in. My girlfriend drove me to my county to vote for the first woman president. Now I don't know if we can ever get married. It's been a hard week. If it helps, Louise, the very first election I voted in was in 2000. Watching the Florida nightmare and going to Bush. So I sympathize with your first voting experience being not great. Confused by what you're saying. Didn't you get done saying Trump was an opportunist? Why is he dealing with people who don't like opportunists? Because the thing is, Trump genuinely believes the things that he says. He's an opportunist in a purely financial way, which these people do respect, because they think, get that money. But Trump doesn't understand metaphor. Trump doesn't understand euphemism. He just says the things that he thinks. And if it gets a pop, he keeps saying it. And if it doesn't get a pop, he stops saying it. I don't think the man has ever said something that he, at least in the moment, he didn't hold that opinion. I don't think he's capable of that level of subterfuge. I just don't. So I thank you, Carolyn, for the reminder. I'm going to hop over to the Council of Geeks Discord, and I'm going to catch up on questions over there. I'll get back here as quickly as I can. And when I do get back here, I have a kind of funny story separate from the election stuff to share that I think people might appreciate for something that happened, well, has kind of been going on for a little bit, but culminated in something that happened earlier today, which I think people might get a kick out of. And a reminder that the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. Anyways, I know you some of these aren't even political. Lovely. I know you dislike mystery boxes, but do you think there's any reason, there's any season of Doctor Who that would benefit from the mystery box elements being made more prominent? For example, I've recently been thinking a lot about the finale of Series 8, and I think the everyone that you think has died is actually still alive. And the Afterlife reveal might have come less out of left field if that element had been played a bigger part in the rest of the season. So, my platonic ideal of a mystery box, by and large, is the cracks in time. If it's going to exist, it should actually impact the story as the stories are being told. The cracks in time do that in a way that others don't. While I'm still tired of the mystery box format in general, what I will readily grant is it is more interesting to me when the mystery box is a thing actually impacting the story, and it interests me way less when the mystery box is literally just a word, a phrase, or an image that we see over and over again and doesn't make sense until we get to the finale. So I don't like mystery box in general, but if we're gonna have one, yes, making them more prominent and making them actually a feature of the stories they're in instead of being tacked on is the better way to go, I feel. Why do you think the CGI used in the Satan Pit looks so much better than the CGI in Empire of Death despite almost 20-year time gap? I'm not sure I agree with that assessment. Yeah, I don't think I agree with that. Not that I'm saying Empire of Death is vastly better. I think they're about on par. And I mean, the main thing about the CGI from the Satan Pit episode is that they understood their limitations. Like, I know they come up with a story reason why the beast, the huge devil-looking thing that we see, doesn't speak. They come up with a story reason for that. The practical reason is if they tried to make it talk, it would have looked way worse. They understood its limitations and they built it around that. That's the general rule why a lot of older CGI doesn't look out of date. And when I say older, I don't mean 90s. Well, some 90s, original Jurassic Park. But like, I'm not talking about stuff like the Haunting remake. But when you talk about stuff like Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean, those effects still look amazing. And it's because at the time then, a lot more work was put into being sure that it was planned well, shot well, and leaned into hiding the seams. And it was specifically designed to integrate as well as possible. Whereas these days, CGI is so ubiquitous, it's just, we'll just do it with CGI. And there isn't the same level of preparation and intent put behind it. And that's the main reason why you can look at CGI from 20 years ago and this year, and it looks either on par or the newer stuff looks worse. That's the general reason why that happens. How long do you think it'll take for Marvel to do something like the Midnight Suns IP? Looked like they were working up to something with the Werewolf by Night short, but then dropped it. I mean, I'd say it might depend on whether or not the Blade movie in some form ever gets off the ground, because that would probably be their launch pad on that. But I don't know. It's hard to know what they're thinking at this point and how much of it is sunk cost fallacy. Like, well, we're already invested in this, so we keep going, and how much of it is stuff they actually think will work. Thought experiment. Oh, fun. Said with mild sarcasm, because thought experiments are the kinds of things that I tend to not be good at answering, because I'm like, that's a good question, but I can't I can't wrap my brain around it right now. But we'll see how this one pans out. Leaving the religiosity out of force powers in the Star Wars universe, what stories would you want to tell? I don't really have a Star Wars pitch. And it's kind of for the same reason that I don't have a Doctor Who pitch, which is that I'm not good at... But my brain doesn't let me sink thinking time into stuff that I'm not going to get to do. You know, people are like, oh, well, what kind of Doctor Who story would you do? I don't know. My brain would probably like kick into high gear thinking of stuff if I got an offer. from BBC or Russell D Davies or somebody saying, "Hey, will you pitch us something?" Yeah, my brain will fire into overdrive then. But like, just as a thought experiment, I'm a bad person to ask. I just am. At this point, I just kind of point to Rogue One and Andor and say more of that. Hypothetical. You're in the writer's room for the X-Men reboot. What Mystique stories do you tell? Mystique as the Black Ops for Professor X. Mystique as the revolutionary who does the dirty work that has to happen, but that Charles can't be known for supporting because it would smudge his idealism that he is banking on. So that's the story that I would tell with Mystique. What is the airspeed of an unladen swallow? Well, is that African or European? I don't know that. Yeah! I've been watching some clips from House MD on YouTube and realized I kind of despise him now that I'm adult. Why do we have this character trope of a dude and it is always a man? Yeah, it is. Who's an asshole, but we have to listen to him and be nice to him because he's smart. It's a power fantasy. It's an intellectual power fantasy as opposed to a physical power fantasy. Because the physical power fantasy says you have to respect this person because he could crack your skull. This is the intellectual power fantasy that says you have to respect this person because they can outthink you. It's just the same thing. And while it is not true of all power fantasy, that it comes with the idea that that person is a jerk, that is often a part of power fantasy, because if you have that level of power, you don't have to respect people. You don't have to respect social mores anymore. So it's just standard power fantasy. It's just intellectual power of fantasy as opposed to physical power fantasy. Things won't get better in our lifetime, but we need to keep fighting. That's in quotes. I think that's possibly true, but a really bad thing to say if you want to motivate people. Jessie said something to that effect in her first election reaction video, and the thought I had was, aside from maybe parents and not even all of them, telling people they have no reasonable expectation of things getting better in their lifetime is profoundly unmotivating. People want things to be better for them, not hypothetical people in the future. Am I being too pessimistic about humans? To a certain extent, you're not. I mean, you're being too pessimistic about some humans. There are some people who do absolutely just want it to be better, whether it's for them or not. What percentage of the population? I have no clue. Here's what I'll say. Jessie is a very honest person. You remember how I said earlier, lies are simple and easy to swallow and easy to motivate people around, and the truth is complicated and messy and not fun to try and cope with? That's that in a nutshell. How accurate is that? I don't know. I like to think we can still get things headed in a better direction again within my lifetime. But if you're, depending on how much of a pessimist you are, that's not an unreasonable position to take. And Jessie is an honest person, so she gave an honest answer. I haven't actually watched that video. I haven't watched a lot of political takes because I don't have the spoons for them. So, and by political takes, I mean like here on YouTube. I've like seen the discourse. That was part of what I was commenting on earlier. So I don't know the full context of what she said, but you know, Jessie is someone who's going to give an honest answer, regardless of whether it's going to go down well. So, yeah. I am not one to adopt that mentality myself, just by my nature. Something I was left thinking after I finished your video about judging TV shows without finishing them is I feel like people could just respond to that with, so do you only want art that makes you feel good as you consume it? You want all TV shows to be candy. How would you respond to that? Because I can't think of any that doesn't ultimately come back to, well, TV shows are a product and you need to sell it, and I don't like to justify things with capitalism. Okay, well, there's a distinction that you're missing. There is a difference between not liking something and something making you feel good. there's media that I adore that does not make me feel good. To cite stuff from just this year, the finale of The Penguin did not make me feel good, but it was good. First block of Arcane is out. The emotions I felt watching that were not all positive, but I still like it. I saw the TV Glow broke me, and it's amazing, and I love it. So I think you're conflating. I feel like this is a good piece of art that I think is good with this makes me feel happy. And those aren't the same things. There's plenty of downbeat media that I've taken in and enjoyed. When I say I don't think this is working or this feels bad to me, I'm not talking about my emotions. I'm okay with something making me feel bad if I feel like it's doing it successfully for a purpose. But if it feels like it's needless, if it's cruel, if it's trying to play to emotions that I just don't seem to have, like, yeah, I'm just going to bow out. So I think you were conflating two things there. You said that you didn't enjoy the Agatha character in Agatha all along. I enjoyed the show and in general the character, but I don't feel like I ever figured out what Agatha's motivation was. Am I missing something? They kept telling us that she wants power, but to what end? Is she just evil for the sake of being evil? She seems to be, at the time the show mostly takes place, she seems to be evil largely out of habit and out of not knowing how else to be. That seems to be more her deal than anything else. All right, I'm coming back to the chat. Let me see if there were super chats in the meantime. Oh, yeah, there were a couple. Captain Cold Cuts, thank you for the super chat. Do you think we're in for a repeat of his first term with a mostly deadlocked Congress, and would that be a good thing? Potentially, because while it looks like they are going to take the House, the Republicans, it's going to be by a slim enough margin that it's only going to take one or two dissenters within their ranks to derail or stall things. And we have seen already in the past that there are plenty Republican Congress people who are happy to derail the process for their own interests or means, or just to raise a stink. So I think potentially, yeah. Would that be a good thing? Yeah. Short answer, yes. Only because it's better than the alternative, because the alternative is for things to run smoothly and for them to put through a whole bunch of stuff that is horrifying. So yeah, out of the options we have, that is one of the better ones. And yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance it's going to be messy in the House in a way that does not benefit Republicans. Because while they've got their voters all locked up and unified, at least in terms of we will vote Republican no matter what, they don't have a whole handle on their entire caucus. And they haven't really since the Tea Party. So Dharma, thank you for re-upping your membership. Much appreciated. Happy anniversary. Yeah. 35 months of membership. I appreciate that greatly. Okay, so I told people, sorry, hang on. I dropped my little gay heart. I gotta pick it up. I told people that I had a kind of funny story. 15 minutes. Thank you, Kerwin. So if you follow me, then you might have seen in the community tab a couple of weeks ago, I forget exactly when, but I posted an AI generated image with an explanatory caption. And I'll explain the whole thing in case folks missed it. So YouTube is starting to build its own, well, more likely just starting to make use of the Google built ones. It's starting to make use of generative AI in various features. And they beta tested a feature to create AI images. And they rolled it out being accessible to various creators on the platform. And that included me. Now, you did have to opt into this program, and I did. Now, anyone who's a regular follower of me knows my stance on AI. I don't like it. Generative AI is built on theft. It is creatively destructive. It is damaging to the livelihoods of artists. It is an environmental disaster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I took part in this, and that's why I posted that image, because I wanted to be able to fill out the survey after having used it, to be able to say, hey, this sucks and I don't want it. So I did that, figuring I'd never hear from them again on this. And then a really surprising thing happened. YouTube got in touch with me saying, we'd like to set up an hour-long interview with you so that you can tell us your thoughts on our AI image generation in more detail, and we'll pay you for your time. So I said yes, and earlier today, I sat down for an hour and with a very, very polite woman who was delightful. And for an hour, I just ripped into the entire concept of AI, every reason that I have to despise it, all of the reasons why I would never use it and why I would lose respect for any creators who did, and all these other things. And what was amazing, was that she's one of the people on their community like development team. She saw my survey response. She wasn't like assigned to follow up on me. She saw my survey response and sought me out. And I suspect that I knew why, and she confirmed it. Which is, she sought me out because she wanted to hear from someone who thought negatively on it, because almost all of the surveys came back positive, leaning, if not outright effusive, which I told her I'm not surprised, because most people with the kinds of objections to AI that I have wouldn't use this enough to qualify to take the survey and then talk to you. I did. And I posted it on my community tab, telling my community flat out, I'm posting this and I'm sorry, but I have to so that I can tell Google to F off with this stuff. And she followed up. She followed up, and I am so glad she did, because again, regardless of what I think about this tech, she was lovely. And I mean in a sincere way, not in like a blank-faced corporate race. She was lovely. She was wonderful to talk to, and she seemed genuinely interested in hearing what I had to say. Do I think that means that anything that I said will have any impact on how any of this is implemented? No. But boy, oh boy, am I so glad I did it, because she basically told me, yeah, we have no other dissenting voices because those people weren't participating. I'm like, good, let me be the voice of dissent for this nonsense. Because sometimes you do have, and like, I'm not saying you should always, play the game so you can, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you play the game so that you can get far enough along to actually speak to these people. Am I still going? All right. I had a hiccup on my end. I don't know if it went bad, but like the idea that, like, I'm very happy with the results that I got on that somebody, at least one person, is telling them no, and here's why. See, I can get behind that, Jesse. Like, I am willing to concede some at least potential uses of AI in some areas of tech. Generative AI for text, generative AI for images, and generative AI for video, I have a bajillion problems with, starting from how these models are trained in the first place and then the actual outcome that comes out of it. But I got to talk about all this for an hour and got paid. I got paid to shit talk AI to somebody who is charged with getting the creator community's feedback on AI. I got to shit talk that stuff honestly for an hour and get paid. Mwah! That was a good part of today. And that is something that I want people to remember. That even as all this stuff happens, there will be good things. And obviously the good thing that I have shared included me making money, and that helps me and me only. But find the good where you can. I've said this elsewhere, but don't let the mood of what is currently happening or the fear of what's going to happen tomorrow ruin the things that are good about today. If something good happens to you today, let it be good. Let those good feelings come. Laugh, smile, enjoy, whatever it may be. Whether it's a joke a friend told you, a silly meme, a pretty day outside, a cool piece of media. Like I said, season 2 of Arcane starting. So far, it's good. Not as good as season 1 yet, but it's still good. Don't forget the good, because the quickest road to despair is to believe that there is nothing worth being happy about. But that won't be true. Regardless of whatever else happens, that will never be true. There will be people, there will be things, there will be days that give you that warm feeling, and I want you to hold on to it. Don't brush it off. Don't think, well, this will fade too, and then everything's crap. Like, no, hold on to it. It's what's going to get us through what comes in the future. And do the best that you can to prepare in whatever ways you feel you can and are necessary. But try not to go too far down the road. For me, I'm in the process of prepping myself for what is likely to start happening early on. And then as things move further down the line, I will assess and figure out what it is I need to do. What I am not doing is thinking of the far end potential outcome of where things are headed and start reacting as if that is inevitable. It's not. It may happen. The worst case scenario for various people, places, groups may happen. But it doesn't happen immediately. It happens in steps. Don't overload yourself. Take things as they come, because you may think you're trying to prepare yourself for the worst by fearing now what might come in 2 years. But you're more often than not, I see damage done to people and their mental well-being by going that far down the road. I used to, in a past relationship, I used to call it playing the what if game. The what if game that says, okay, but this thing is likely. Like, okay, so that's something we need to deal with and prepare for. But if that happens, then this might be likely. And then what if this, what if this, what if this, what if this? The further you go, the more steps you go down the road, the lower the percentage of it is, but you are still stressing yourself out at the same level at every one of those steps. Now, again, that is not say take no action and don't worry about it, but come back to where we are and try not to fall down the doom rabbit hole of where we are headed 10 steps from now. And that's not me saying be in denial, but the human brain can only process and prepare so much. And if you overload it, you are not helping yourself. You're not helping your friends. Know your limits. And if you feel like you've taken in all you can for a day, walk away. I guess I'll make this announcement here since I've actually got decent turnout for the stream. I will be closing my Twitter accounts. Yes, thank you, Carwin. I will get to those in a minute right after this announcement. I will be closing my Twitter accounts, both the Council of Geeks Twitter account and the Vera Wild Twitter account. I am effectively moving to Blue Sky for both of those. However, in the bio for both of those accounts, you will find a series of links. I've actually got different ones now for Vera Wild and for Council of Geeks, because the one on the Vera Wild bio is geared towards, you know, the spicy side of things. Whereas while some of that is listed in the Council of Geeks list of links, it's way further down. It's not prioritized. Find me elsewhere if you follow me on Twitter. There are plenty of other places to find me. There's Blue Sky, there's Instagram, there's TikTok. If you like the spicy stuff, there is OnlyFans, there is ManyVids. So there's plenty of other places to find me, but I will be gone from Twitter. And to be clear, I was planning to do this even before the election results. I was planning to do this way back last month, I think, when we got the announcement that by the end of this week, Twitter will not let you opt out of having anything you post on there be fed into Grok AI to train it. So you cannot opt out of having your stuff feed a training algorithm. I was planning to leave for that reason already. So this isn't even in response to the election results. So I got to get through these super chats. Elijah Anderson, thank you very much. Love from Boise. Stay safe on the East Coast. I continue, and I've said this before, I have the benefit of living in one of these safer areas, because not only is Vermont a safe state, I am buffeted by safer states and safer areas as well. So yeah, I'm obviously things that happen on the national and federal level affect me, but certainly compared to a lot of people out there right now, I am in a safer position than many. Coyote Azul, thank you very much. Ironically, despite this week sucking, I have a second date this weekend. It's very weird to have very bad and very good in the same week. That's called life, Coyote Azul. It happens. Enjoy the good. And congratulations. I hope your second date goes well. Supreme Omega. People have been saying notion of Gen Z being so progressive, less leftist turned out not quite true. To me, it's never true because you can't generalize the demographic. I mean, you can to an extent, but not with razor accuracy. And again, I haven't looked at enough demographic breakdowns to get into that, but like, there will always be outliers in either direction. As much as people of my generation love to denigrate the boomers, there are boomers who are fine and lovely even, and there will be Gen Z jackasses. Dernseed, as a recent CS grad, I'm so infuriated that AI is used to replace creatives instead of helpful, useful things like setting up weather models. Thank you, Vera. Yeah, I forget where the quote was from, but I saw it regurgitated on Twitter, where I'm not going to be anymore. I want AI to take care of my finances and my laundry, so I have more time to do art. I don't want AI doing art, so I have more time for my finances and laundry. Aaron Davis, do you support returning to the way things were with the Vermont Republic, which ran from 1777 to 1791? In the abstract, yes. As a practical matter, no. Vermont, I don't think, is a sustainable economy on its own. And so, like, as an actual practical matter, no, probably a bad idea. In the abstract, like, just the general notion, Vermont declares independence. Yeah, that is a nice ring to it. As a practical matter, though, it'd be a nightmare. Aaron, oh, thank you very much. Canadian, my neighbors. I had a big smile watching your review of Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed it a lot. That went up over in the Break Room of Geeks, my secondary channel. That was a bright spot this month because that movie is wonderful. And finally, Twilord. Thank you for the super chat. Best witches? I don't know if I'm the best witch, but best wishes to American brethren in the LGBTQ community. I am safe in Ireland, but hope to be there for folks and support leftist minority creators. Thank you, Twilord. I appreciate it, and I am glad that you are safe. I hope that anyone who isn't is able to get to a place where they are safer, at least. And for everyone who is in a relatively safe place, be it a country like Ireland or be it in a safe pocket of the United States like I am happy for you, and take care. So, I think that will wrap it up. Well, Davinia, that's the kind of thing that's like 4 or 5 steps down the line, at least in terms of a national ban. More realistically, what they will try to do is remove gender-affirming care from being covered by Medicaid and Medicare, which are actually federally funded programs. The idea of an actual federal ban that would impact even private insurers and medicine as an industry is not impossible, but that is the kind of thing that's like 10, 12 steps down the line. So that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, I can't process that, and I won't, partially because we're far enough away with it. I need to deal with the stuff that's going on right now. My way of dealing with stuff is ultimately a cross that bridge when we get to it mentality. Other people will feel the need to be more proactive and such, but that's where I'm at. So stuff coming up. This weekend's video. What is this weekend's video? Oh, this week. So Saturday's video, excuse me, here on the channel will be about the fallout to creative projects tied to Neil Gaiman. I talk about Good Omens, I talk about Sandman, I talk about Anansi Boys, and I talk about the Graveyard Book. So that will be Saturday's video. I will be streaming on Twitch tomorrow and Friday. I don't know what I'm going to play. Carolyn, you and I got to brainstorm and figure that out, what we're going to play. So that is that's what's coming out on Twitch. And there'll be other stuff up in the break room. I think I'll probably have later this week in the break room of Geeks, I will have my review and reaction to, actually, you know what? I can show folks real quick. Hang on. I know I'm running overtime, Carolyn. I'm sorry. She tries to wrangle me. She tries so hard. But I got this. And so a video talking about this, my thoughts on it. That'll be in the break room later this week, probably Thursday. So yeah. And I think that'll about cover it. New Jumpgate podcast on Monday. And yeah, that'll do us. So you take care, folks. And please be well, be safe, be kind. Remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!